Good evening, everybody. I know, a third video, but I'm probably not going to get to two tomorrow. Maybe, we'll see. But the problem here, have you seen this? This is Question Period with Evan Solomon. And this video, this interview goes way off the rails. Like, this is jaw-droppingly bad for the Liberals. And Michelle Rempel handles herself like a boss here. I like Michelle. Michelle doesn't like me. I'm still blocked on Twitter. That's okay. I think this made me laugh. And we're going to watch it. This is absolutely incredible. The Liberal gets first crack. Michelle gets introduced, and then the Liberal gets the question, and right away he says, the Conservatives are going to want to politicize this. They're going to want to focus on McCallum. That's what he says. He begins by attacking the Conservatives. They're going to want to inform you about this. And then it just gets so crazy. We're going to watch all the fun parts. So here's the introduction. And he says rule of law before the minute's out, I believe. That's what I've got on my notes here. We'll see. So at 1:35, he says the opposition will play politics and shore up. And he talks about how the Liberals have shored up support around the world against China and are prisoners who they're threatening to kill. So here we go, Evan. This is a fun interview to watch. If you want to just watch a political party implode, watch this video, because the Liberals are so lost. They have no idea what to do. They're lost. They're absolutely snookered. Here we go.
Was defending Ambassador McCallum as late as Friday. Why was he fired?
Well, let me begin by saying that I know John McCallum, and like most who've encountered him, hold him in high regard. I think his career in public service will stand the tests of time. Look, over the last number of days, John made a number of statements which were both unhelpful and did not reflect the position of the government. That's why the Prime Minister asked for his resignation. The opposition are going to try and play politics with this. They'll never turn down an opportunity to do so. Our government's top priority remains to secure the release of Mr. Kovrig and Mr. Spavor. And I would just add to that we have successfully shored up support from around the world. The reason why we've got countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia coming on board is that they know we honor our treaties. They know that we share values when it comes to the rule of law. And that's why they've joined Canada in asking for the release of these two individuals who've been arbitrarily detained.
All right. Well, clearly it's not going so well because you fired your ambassador to China. And what about playing politics with that? Michelle Rempel, what does it tell you that they finally let John McCallum go?
When I heard that, it was like reading the fine print on a box of medication or something. Right? These are some really scripted talking points because this is a disaster with some serious consequences. When I think about the lives of Canadians that are being detained in China right now, this has very serious implications for them. It has serious implications for our relationships with the United States. And this is a disaster. I mean, I have had interactions with MPs as late as Friday where they said it was reckless to question this. And this is a disaster. McCallum was speaking on behalf of the government because he is our ambassador. This was, a very poor appointment. The fact that the government didn't terminate his position in the first instance is a disaster. It's a joke, and here we are. How did they let this happen?
Well, let's find out. Mr. Mendicino, did your government give Ambassador McCallum the green light to hold that press conference first in Toronto with Chinese media? Just answer. Did he get the green light? Was that a government-sanctioned event, and that he just screwed up, or was that part of a government-sanctioned event?
Ambassador McCallum obviously informed the government that there would have been a press conference, but I disagree with...
And that's the answer to the question, and he goes back to talk about Michelle Rempel stuff. And we're going to fast forward just because get to the point a little bit. However, it's interesting that the press conference was a sanctioned event. The press conference would have been cleared with the government. So the government knew that he was inviting Chinese-only media to make an announcement to them in the midst of the Meng Wanzhou extradition case that cannot be politicized, but in doing this has been politicized. Okay, I fast forward to 4:10 talking, and this is where he starts accusing Michelle of wanting to focus on the ambassador. And, well, here we go. We'll watch.
Went rogue at that press conference.
Well, look, as I've said before, you have to take a look at the entirety of John McCallum's public service career, which is one that has been marked with distinction. There was another interview given, and obviously post that, the Prime Minister asked for his resignation. And as I said at the outset of my remarks, the opposition is going to want to fixate on Mr. McCallum. Our government knows that the way that we are going to secure the release of these two Canadians is to continue engaging diplomatically. Minister Freeland and the Prime Minister have been working the phone. I'm sorry if I could just finish the sentence, Michelle, and then I know that you'll retort.
No, you put a
Minister
Freeland,
Minister Freeland has been working the phones, as has the Prime Minister. These are countries who have come to our side, and you know, Evan, I would say Canada knows what it's doing. Our government knows what it's doing when it comes to securing the release from other regimes. We've secured the release of Professor Hoodfar from Iran. We secured the release of Pastor Lim when it came to North Korea. And we're not going to get anywhere by having this kind of partisanship.
Sorry, Mr. Mendicino, there's accountability. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, this is not about...
So I'm going to pause there. So do you hear what he did? Do you notice what he did? He talked over her to get all the talking points out. He didn't care that the host was telling him to stop. He didn't care that Michelle was saying, hold on, we need to take apart that statement. Whoa, hold on. There's a couple of times where she tried to jump in and he explained to her, no, I'm going to finish my comments. Okay, I'm going to fast forward again to 5:55. And I'm just trying to get to the cogent parts. I know we're watching a lot of it, but I want you to feel this interview go off the rails because they're trying to be polite and this guy just keeps talking. So it's really quite interesting. But as we get further on, you'll see it's quite fun to watch the whole thing too. Watching 1.5 speed. Sorry about the speed at the beginning, by the way. Okay, here we go.
Fixating on McCallum, this is a lapse of judgment on behalf of the Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, what I speculate happened issue with this because this was a massive lapse in judgment on behalf of the Prime Minister. I don't know how the government gets out of this at this point in time. They've put their cards completely on the table. They've, basically interfered in the independence of our judiciary. And, Marco, like sometimes when you're holding water for the government, you just need to be contrite in this and to come after the opposition parties for holding the government to account. And it's just the arrogance of this. It's both the ignorance and the arrogance that shows why your government needs to go. It's
Mr. Mendicino, Michelle Rempel asked a genuine question I'd like an answer to. Was John McCallum, twice now, both in Vancouver and Toronto, he repeated these remarks. Now, we all know that your government's fired him because you now say it was inappropriate. But did he tip Canada's hand? Is that really what the Chinese want to know? That this is the Canadian position? Because we don't know who to trust. Do you trust what your ambassador says? Do we trust what you say? Honestly, it's a fair question. Did he reveal what Canada is really thinking behind the scenes?
Of course not, and I've said that now on a number of occasions, and notwithstanding what the opposition may say, it's just not true and it is irresponsible. But when it comes to the rule of law, look, Evan, I've worked on extradition matters and I've worked on extradition appeals. This is a government that believes in the independence of the judiciary. This hearing with regards to Ms. Meng will be held in a totally unbiased and fair and transparent manner.
But how can that happen now?
And continuing, that is why we have the United States. That is why we have the United States and the United Kingdom who have. That is why we have had the United States and the United Kingdom come on board. And there's an important and crucial point here. In both of those instances, the United States, there's a Republican government. In the United Kingdom, there is a conservative government. They have seen fit to look over the partisanship that sometimes occurs in the hustle and bustle of day-to-day politics. And what I'm saying is that they have overlooked whatever ideological political differences that may exist between the political spectrum and saw fit to what that's not spin, Michelle.
Okay,
you have countries who are supporting Canada when it comes to securing the release of these two individuals.
Okay, hang on. I just want to sort this out. First of all, I'm not sure what your point is that there's a...
Sorry, guys. I want to stop it here. The point of this spin, I'll explain it, Ms. Rempel, is to take up airtime. It's to eat up your airtime. That's what the point of this spin is. He's talking nonsense, and he knows it. The crucial point of this is both governments were Republican or conservative governments, and they blah, 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 blah. He's trying to take up the airtime. That is his goal, and he succeeded, which is unfortunate, but it's a new attack. I hadn't seen it before either, but that the whole goal is the same as Trudeau's word salad at question period. It's to fill up the time with nonsense, but to dazzle people who may not be paying attention. It sounds like maybe there's an answer in there somewhere, but there isn't. It's garbage, and he knows it. And so does Miss Rempel. Like, what are you even talking about? Yeah, what are you even talking about? Okay, I'm going to fast forward to 9 minutes, and we're going to watch to the end. It just goes completely off the rails in 9 minutes. It's Michelle Rempel's talking, and then the whole thing. Anyway, we'll watch.
Our partner to the north can't govern. We are interfering in the independence of our judiciary. This is.
Sorry, that was one other point I wanted to make. At 7:15, she says, "How can that happen now?" He says, prior to 7:15, he says, "We have a fair rule of law. We're going to have a fair trial, the whole deal." And she says, "How can that happen now? We've got an ambassador saying one thing. We've got Justin Trudeau and the government saying another. The ambassador speaks for the government. The ambassador had his press conference cleared. How can we say realistically and honestly, in a trustworthy way, no, he went rogue. Those press conferences that he gave that we knew about, no, totally bogus. And now we fired him. So yeah, pretend that didn't happen, right? We'll just go back to that didn't happen. It doesn't work that way. It's diplomacy, right? And so, yeah, the Wang Mang Zhou thing has been absolutely politically poisoned by this. And whether Trudeau meant to do it or not, and I don't know if I can attribute that much political acumen to the man. Maybe his team meant to do it. I don't know. But that's where we are. This supposedly rule of law country is likely going to bungle, or already has bungled, one of the most important files, one of the most important happenings during the prime ministership, during the tenure of the government. And I mean, one in a long list of bungled foreign policy things by the Liberals. I mean, from new NAFTA to extradition requests from the United States, they can't get anything right. And interviews are absolutely meant to confuse and kick the can down the road and demonize the Conservative Party or the People's Party or whatever. And I think I think the Conservatives and the Liberals are both going to ignore the People's Party. That's what I think is going to happen. But that's neither here nor there. Watch the rest of this interview. It goes crazy. Well, I just started laughing. I was like, this is insane. Like, what this guy's talking about is nuts. So here we go. Here's the last minute and a half.
Nobody has seen a bungle of foreign policy like this in a generation. This is really bad, and it has serious implications
Michelle,
for
you
lives
should read
that are
the
at
statement
stake.
of Secretary
It's
Pompeo.
very bad.
If you read the Secretary
This
of
shouldn't have been
State's statement from the United States,
The United
Michelle,
States
you would
is
see
not
that
lauding
he
Justin
expresses
Trudeau on this
unequivocal
matter.
confidence
There is
in
no
Canada
way
to conduct
that
an
the American
extradition
government
hearing.
has any faith in
I have
us
10
anymore.
seconds, but Mr. Mendicino, are you
ridiculous.
arguing that firing the ambassador to China like this actually helps Canada's position internationally? Is that actually the case? You believe this actually enhances Canada's credibility on the world stage?
What doesn't help is fixating on the events of the last few days. What does help is allowing the Foreign Service, the Foreign Minister, and the Prime Minister to continuing engaging diplomatically with some of the most influential countries in the world who share our values when it comes to the rule of law and who have expressed unequivocal confidence in our ability to conduct rule of law proceedings like the extradition hearing. And you know, Michelle, you can continue to interrupt, but that's not the way we conduct diplomacy here.
Nobody wants to listen to this. We want our Canadians back.
I gotta leave it there, obviously.
Right? Absolutely. So that was just an absolute mess. If Mendicino thinks that he owned that was an absolute, complete, and utter mess. He looked out of his depth and on defense the whole time. Watch the whole thing. He interrupts. He's rude. He's tone deaf. A good interview has give and take, right? You have to have give and take. You can't just accuse the other side of absolutely everything. You can't accuse the other side of literally being Hitler when they're saying, what? Like when they're asking reasonable questions. Like, was the ambassador's press conference that tipped Canada's hand into this whole extradition thing, was that, sanctioned by the government? Oh, well, the Conservatives are going to go after the ambassador or the former ambassador. Yeah, well, they should. He should have known better unless he was directed to do it. Mendicino, you fail, sir. You fail. Another double-speaking liberal, fork-tongued liberal, right? Look at those dead eyes, too, eh? I don't know. Maybe have you guys seen A Clockwork Orange? Maybe that's what the Liberal caucus looks like, the caucus room. They just drip the drops in their eyes, and they sit there and they drink milk. Weird. But this is a weird interview. So strange. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I know 3 videos in a day. I don't know. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching, everybody.